Welcome to Leaping Larry's Revolutionary Reading Theatre.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to the Revolutionary Reading Theatre, comrade. And today, of course, we are going to be reading Chapter 6 of Kwame Nkrumah, Neo-Colonialism, the final stage of imperialism. Chapter 6, of course, is primary resources and foreign interests. I want to welcome you all to the reading theater. What do you think? I'm nothing if not a showman, exactly. Too fancy? Come on now, I'm stepping things up. That's what we're doing around here. Yeah, it's my impression of masterpiece theater, exactly. Yeah, I think it's something like that, right? I remember it being called masterpiece theater, but I could be completely mistaken, of course. Yeah, very, very high production value this stream, absolutely. All right, so there's our current read. I just pinned it all for you there. Surprised I didn't see more miladies when that intro was playing. Good to say. But anyway, I'm not one to judge. Comrades in chat make up their own decisions, except for when it's time to show the Juche Gang emote, of course. That's mandatory. Right. Neo-Colonialism by Kwame Nkrumah, 1965. This is written. Primary resources and foreign interests. Oh damn, that's cool how you got it to invert. That looks badass. Nice one, PB. Primary resources and foreign interest. Dull struggle for the foreign interest to get those primary. American and European companies connected with the world's most powerful banking and financial institutions are, with the consent of African governments, entering upon major projects designed to exploit new sources of primary products. In some cases, these are allied to long-term ventures for the establishment of certain essential industries. In the main, however, they are confining themselves to the production of materials in their basic or secondary stages, with the object of transforming them in the mills and plants owned and run by the exploiting companies in their metropolitan lands. Africa has failed to make much headway on the road to purposeful industrial development because her natural resources have not been employed for that end, but have been used for the greater development of the Western world. This has been a continuing process that has gained tremendous momentum in recent years. Following the invention and introduction of new processes and techniques that have quickened the output of both the ferrous and non-ferrous metal industries of Europe and America in order to keep pace with the ever-increasing demand for finished goods. Military preparations and nuclear expansion have had a considerable impact upon this demand. World output of crude steel almost doubled itself in the decade between 1950 and 1960, from 190 million tons to 340 million. Even the regression of 1958, which lasted through the following years, failed to halt the progress, which went on in lesser degree in both Eastern and Western countries. The general forecast is that this tempo of production will be maintained. As it comes from Western sources, it makes little allowance for the expansion of African use of primary products, and envisages our continuance of the present flow as between developing source countries and highly industrialized users. Nor does it take into account the likelihood of a repressive tendency in Western economies that can certainly affect the demand for raw materials. A publication of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe in 1959 estimated that the world production of steel between 1972 and 1975 will be in the region of 630 million tons. Before the last war, most of the Western world's iron and steel output was based upon local raw materials. The post-war years, particularly since 1956, have seen an opposite trend. Something like a quarter of the raw materials, 90 million tons out of 400 million, used in the world's metallurgical industries have been imported. The countries mainly importing these raw materials are the United States, Western Europe, and Japan. The Soviet Union and the developing countries have at their disposal sufficient quantities of domestic raw materials. At the present time, 3 large areas of primary resources are being exploited for the benefit of the great producer countries. These are Africa, Canada, and South America, in particular Chile and Peru, and lately Venezuela. Canada has become a province of American capital investment, which draws off high profits and exploits vast resources of raw products for conversion in American plants. South America and Africa, besides offering these advantages, provide cheap labor and local governmental assistance by way of duty exemption for imported machinery and equipment as well as tax remission. Surveys being carried out in Africa are discovering more and more deposits of valuable raw materials. Western investigators regard them essentially as a source of exploitation for the commerce and industry of their world, ignoring completely the development of the countries in which they lie. Robert Sawnel, in an article in Europe, France, Outremer of November 1961, surveys the possibilities of Africa as a provider of ferrous raw materials for the industries of the great metallurgical countries. He reminds his readers that their sources of these primary materials in Europe, such as Sweden and Spain, and that for Japan there are the countries of Asia and Oceania. He concludes that European participation is a favorable factor in starting off the exploitation of Africa's mineral resources, but that the new productive capacities in course of development should counsel prudence and detailed examination of the selling possibilities. These mines are bound to start off in a situation of lively competition, which must have its effect upon price levels. They need, therefore, to be subjected to close preliminary examination before being embarked upon, and must depend upon great agreement between the exploiting companies and the host states, which will give the former a just return and the latter a stable fiscal regime for the functioning of their harmonized exploitation. Okay, Mama. Enjoy your day, comrade. Thank you for stopping by. In short, the governments of the new states are seen in the role of policemen, for the banking and industrial consortia bent upon continuing the old imperialist pattern in Western African relationships. Stable fiscal regime, quote unquote, they will guarantee out of such exploitation will, according to Robert Sanall, be based on conditions of depressed prices arising from acute competition. There has been a considerable increase in the production of primary materials in Africa since 1945. Under the stimulus of post war rebuilding needs throughout the world, and the exigencies of Cold War stockpiling and armaments requirements. Another driving factor has been the revolution in productive methods and management. The surge of colonial peoples towards independence must also be acknowledged as a force contributing to the extension of raw materials production. In some cases, the production of primary materials since 1945 has multiplied several times, and in most cases has doubled. The scene in Guinea shows much change following the discovery of deposits of iron and bauxite. Diamond mining has also made noticeable progress. The Ivory Coast in 1960 was producing diamonds at an annual level of about 200,000 carats, and operations have started in the manganese fields in the neighborhood of Grand Lahou. Calcium phosphate is being exploited in Senegal, and aluminum and oxidized sand provide some mining activity. The mining of iron ore is underway in Mauritania, where an Anglo-French consortium is planning to produce 4 million tons as a first stage, to be increased later to 6 million tons annually. Deposits are estimated at around 115 million tons of 63% iron grade. Finds of very rich phosphate deposits in Senegal have brought a French-Belgian financial and mining combination into the country to carry out their exploitation. An estimated 40 million tons of raw phosphates are expected to allow a production of 13 million tons of rich phosphates through the extraction of 600,000 tons of concentrates annually for 20 years. Phosphates have also been found in Togo, which are to be exploited by a consortium associated with Banque de Paris et la Pays-Bas, and established mining companies having connections with the Société Générale de la Banque, manganese, uranium, oil, and iron ore finds in Gabon, have brought in similar consortia for their exploitation. Cameroon produces little from mining beyond some small amounts of gold, tin, and rutile, though there has been no effective change in Madagascar's position. There have been discoveries of uranium, monazite, zircon, chromium, and other minerals, whose exploitation is being investigated. Iron ore finds in Algeria are estimated at 100 million tons. And we have been hearing a good deal lately about the oil and gas resources of the Sahara Desert. Algeria's fields are now producing at the rate of 450,000 barrels a day, about a third of those in Iran. And Libya has reached 150,000 barrels daily, with the anticipation of achieving 600,000 barrels a day within the next 5 years. Algeria's sector of the Sahara finds of mineral and Tindouf are expected to produce 50% iron. Following figures taken from the UN statistical yearbooks illustrate the great rise in output of minerals in Africa during the post-war period. Yeah, from 1 million tons of phosphates to 7 million tons, from 45 to 59, that is. Look at the difference. Zinc in Morocco. from 500 tons of manganese in Rhodesia to 29,000 by 1959. Is wild. Where the fuck is my buffer at? Look at the diamonds too. They went from either not recorded or none, 2 million tons. 2 million, sorry, 2,838,000 carats. Always do carats. Fucks me up. The highest rate of increase in South Africa, where a production of 624,108 kilograms of gold makes the republic the producer of half the world's supplies. An output of 2,838,000 carats of diamonds in 1959, about 40% of which were gemstones, puts it third after the Congo and Ghana, whose output is almost entirely of industrial diamonds, though the value received, because of its control of the industry and the number of gem diamonds, is relatively greater than that of Ghana's. G also leads in the production of chromium ore, and is second in the output of lead from Southwest Africa. Even South Africa's uranium production of 7,000 tons, obtained largely from gold and copper mines, is way ahead of the Congo's 1,761 tons. Mining of all kinds in South Africa has reached a stage of exploitation which can be compared with that of Canada, and which is now feverishly beginning to open up in Australia, where the same companies, in alliance with American and other associated interests, are paramount. The close relationship borne out even in the names of mines, particularly in Canada, which frequently duplicate those also found in South Africa and the Rhodesias. So cursed to have to say that. Africa's possession of industrial raw materials could, if used for her own development, place her among the most modernized continents of the world, without recourse to outside sources. Iron ore, mostly of high quality, is to be found in gigantic quantities near to the coast, where it can easily be shipped abroad. As for bauxite, Africa's estimated reserves are more than 2/5 of those of the whole world. They are twice those of Australia, which are placed second. Guinea alone is estimated to contain deposits equal to those of the whole of Australia. That is, over 1,000 million tons. Ghana is said to have reserves totaling 400 million tons. Sudan, Cameroon, Congo, Malawi are also known sources of considerable deposits. And the investigation of probable reserves is proceeding in Mozambique, Sierra Leone, Portuguese Guinea, and in other parts of Africa. Africa is rich. You know what's funny though? You know what I figured out. Perenni was actually paraphrasing this person when he said that. Wild, right? Like Perenni was basically paraphrasing Kwame Nkrumah when he said that. If I could actually find the part where he says it again. We'll listen to it again. Yeah, we'll listen to it again sometime. Yeah, basically this section actually, in many ways. It's true. Among the base materials essential for the production of iron and steel, manganese has a place of high importance. Besides being used for alloying with pig iron in the manufacture of special steels, it is used in the chemical industry. For certain purposes under present day processes, manganese is irreplaceable. It is in constant use at a rate of 18 to 20 kilograms to a ton of steel. The Soviet Union and China are practically self sufficient in the supply of this essential basic material. The other great world steel producers, the United States, Western Europe, and Japan, do not have appreciable quantities in their own territories. Their principal sources of supply are Africa, India, and Brazil. Of these, Africa provides the greatest quantity. Angola, Bechuanaland, Congo, Ghana, Morocco, Rhodesia, Southwest Africa, and Egypt have been among the producing countries for some time. Others, like the Ivory Coast and Gabon, are now being added to the list. North Africa is one of the world's greatest producer of phosphates. Morocco alone exports 7 million tons out of some 9 million tons coming from North Africa. The US comes next, with an export of 4 million tons. New producing countries which have appeared since 1957 are China, with some 600,000 tons in 1960, and North Vietnam with 500,000 tons. Senegal is a producer of aluminum phosphate, her output being about 90,000 tons a year. And Togo is now appearing on the phosphate market. Iron, like oil, has become one of the more recent mineral discoveries in Africa. North and West Africa being the main centers. Among high grade ore producers in 1960 were Liberia, 68% iron content, Angola, 65%, South Africa, 62%, Sierra Leone, 60%, Morocco, same, Rhodesia, 55%, the minimum iron content for high grade ore. There have been discoveries of higher quantities and qualities since 1960. It is considered that most countries in West Africa, from Mauritania to Congo, have iron ore deposits. Enlargement of the production in Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone is being planned. Deposits are either being placed under production or are planned for exploitation in Niger, Mauritania, Ghana, Gabon, Cameroon, Senegal, and Congo. Ghana's reserves, estimated at about 1 million tons, are in the Xi'an area of the northern region and are not easily accessible and have an average iron content of about 46 to 51%. It is proposed to exploit these deposits for domestic use when the Volta Lake is opened up for inland transport. The Niger Republic deposits are estimated at more than 100 million tons of 45 to 60% quality. They are at, say, about 35 miles from Niamey, the most at the moment distant from roads, railways, and ports. These disadvantages affect also the exploitation of known deposits in the Kanda region of Dahomey of 68% quality. Algeria has been an iron producer for some time. Exploitation was undertaken there in 1913 by a French enterprise known as La Société de l'Ourenza, operating at Djebel Ourenza in the south of Constantine, close to the Tunisian border. Formerly incorporated as a department of France. The company has built its own railway lines connecting two producing centers to Oued Keberet, to join with the Bone-to-Tbilisi line. Its plants enable Society de Loretza to exploit iron principally to Great Britain, Germany, Italy, Belgium, and the Low Countries, and the US. Between the outset of this exploitation and the end of 1960, a total of 46 million tons of mineral has been extracted. Owenza's personnel that included 600 European and 1,500 Algerian. Depletion of easily minerable resources of phosphate is exactly a huge problem now because capitalist systems waste so much of it, letting it run off into water tables. Yep. Which then becomes a huge problem for communities in that area, too. Of course. The existence of iron ore in the Sahara was first indicated in the Ganj-Dareh region, some 110 miles southeast of Tindouf, in 1952. Difficulties of situation and water supply are obstacles in the way of exploitation. Nevertheless, a committee composed of representatives of the iron and steel industries of France, Belgium, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, busy investigating the possibilities, in conjunction with the French Bureau d'Investissements d'Afrique. Liberia's iron ore resources are reputed to stand at 1,000 million tons in the Nimba Range and 600 million tons in the deposits near the Sierra Leone border. The Nimba iron ore mine, which has been sunk and is being mined by a consortium known as LAMCO, joint venture enterprise, members of the consortium being Liberian American Swedish Minerals Company and Bethlehem Steel Corporation, is estimated to have reserves of over 300 million tons of high-grade hematite ore with an average iron content of over 65%. Long-term contracts are in hand from German, French, Italian, and Belgian steelworks, while a considerable part of the output will go to the powerful United States Bethlehem Steel, which has a 25% participation in the venture, the other 75% being taken up by LAMCO. LAMCO is said to be a company share between Liberian government and foreign enterprise on a 50-50 basis. The non-government participant in Liberian Iron Ore Company, a consortium of American and Swedish financial and steel interests. Chief of these is the Swedish mining company Gransberg, which besides having an important stake in the LAMCO, Nimbia Mine acts as a managing agent for this joint venture, in which American capital predominates. Gransberg, firmly holding 12 over 28 of the LAMCO syndicate, according to its annual report, adopted at its annual general meeting held in Stockholm on 18th of May 1962, increased its participation to 1528, giving it a majority slice of the equity. Gransberg owns iron ore mines in central Sweden, as well as power stations, forest, and farm properties. It also built and controlled the Frövi Litviks Järnväg railway undertaking, and operates the Oxlund Steelworks, turning out pig iron and heavy plates. In addition, it possesses and runs a fleet of ships, which at the end of 1961 comprised 33 vessels, and had on order another 4 for delivery, in 1962 and 63. A subsidiary, Akti Bulgat Hamatit, works mines in North Africa, and others, including an arms and chemical enterprise. Akti Bulgat Express Dynamit. The Swedish government took over holdings which Gransberg exercised in Lusvava, Curanavera AB, LKAB. There, that's better. APLKAB. But out of the purchase price of KR of 925 million kroners it received, the company reinvested 100 million kroners in LKAB. That is what that is, right? Isn't it? The value given to these government purchase holdings was almost twice as much as Grandsburg fully paid up capital of 495,800,000. And even without them, its assets at the end of 1961 stood at 403,719,000. In addition
it's
to
all for
shares
one
and
motherfucker and one
subsidiary.
motherfucker for all motherfuckers everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, Rylan, for the gift sub to K. Appreciate that, comrade. In addition to shares in subsidiary and other companies totaling 154,380,000, the company's net profits for the year was 38,787,000, and dividends absorbed very nearly the same amount at 35,700,000. Its iron sales increased from 1,620,000 tons in 1959.
I've got some literature in my car that will change your whole way of thinking.
Thank you, Malufield, for the subscription for 1 month. Oh shit, we're close to a hype train. If there's a third generous donor out there. Its iron sales increased from 1,620,000 tons in 1959 to 2,560,000 tons in 1961. Appreciate that. Thank you very much for the support, comrades. An absolute ton. Bethlehem Steel is a heavy British. Let's back up and try that again. Bethlehem Steel is a heavy investment sphere for Rockefeller's profits from Standard Oil, which has been pushing to displace British Dutch oil interests in the Far East. Yeah, me getting gift subs while reading a book filled with chapters about statistics about resource extraction. I'm down for it. John D. Rockefeller the third. Again, and if we get one more gift sub, we get a little music break. So you know. But it's got to be from a third person. The hype train will begin. The way that works. I'm glad you appreciate me reading it. It means a lot that you're here to listen to me read it.
Long live the People's Revolution!
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. You've done it now. Done it now, comrade.
Get in there. Taxi's boss car is full of weed just like this, okay?
Okay.
Jacob, you're in control. Don't let them fuck up.
Okay, boys, this is it. Let's fucking move it. Boys, I got the Swayze Express.
Good.
Load it in the car. We gotta hook up with
Smash in 6 hours.
The whole world's searching for that train, you idiots. You won't even make it to Shitville.
It's all for one motherfucker and one motherfucker for all motherfuckers everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, shit.
It's all for one motherfucker and one motherfucker for all motherfuckers everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
You know what time it is. You know what time it is when we get the hype train, comrades.
Let's go. Smokes.
Smoke's coming right up. It's that time. Thank you, comrades, for the support.
Lil Pump. Chichi Gang. Oh, self-reliance. DPRK. Chichi Gang, Chichi Gang, Chichi Gang, Chichi Gang, Chichi Gang, Chichi Gang, Chichi Gang. Sprint 3 Rex on zijn new brain. Macron, love doing juche. Fucking peers, I forgot a name, yeah.
Let's see those emotes.
Ready go spread some, come in, man. Juche gang, juche gang, juche gang.
Break the computer with the Juche gang
juche
emotes.
gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang. Sprint 3 Rex on zijn new brain. Macron, love doing juche. Fucking peers, I forgot a name, yeah. I can't buy a bit on bougie thing.
Oh shit, Bama.
Juche gang, juche gang, juche gang. My nuke more supreme than your core. You got healthcare you can't afford. Still slinging juche in the jets. Korea and Cuba making better meds. None of these camps be new to me, huh? See your kids there, call it tutory. Got some red
Word
suits.
break right after this.
Fuck your army, fuck your bourgeoisie. Bitch, your press expresses sadness. America's the most he's found to madness. Kim Jong-un show no tenderness. America's strategies crying about the status. Everybody screaming, fuck the US. Lil Kim be laughing about the progress. North Korea controlling the ICBM tech. If America gonna attack, we're wrecking right back. Juche gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang. Sprint 3 Rex on some new brain, huh? Macron, love doing juche, huh? Fucking peers, I forgot a name, yeah. I can't buy a bit, no bullshit thing, huh? Ready go and spread some, come in, meme, yeah. Juche gang, juche gang, juche gang. Juche gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang, juche gang. Sprint 3 Rex on some new grain, huh? Macron, love doing juche, huh? Fucking peers, I forgot a name, yeah. I can't buy a bit, no bullshit thing, huh? Ready go and spread some, come in, meme, yeah. Juche gang, juche gang, juche gang. Yeah. That's it. Another hit from your boy.
Someone asked for a chord break. Thank you for the hype train, comrades. That means an absolute ton. Seriously. Thank you, thank you. And for the Korg break as well. Like that? Glad you enjoyed the outro as well. I always try to like come up with some sort of ending for it. One day we'll get a chaosilator and then we'll be able to do even better music breaks. Just this. Okay. Allow us to continue now. Little intermission is always good for us. Right, Bethlehem Steel is a heavy investment sphere for Rockefeller's profits from Standard Oil, which has been pushing to displace British Dutch oil interests in the Far East. John D. Rockefeller III has made himself a specialist on the Far East, with a preference for Japan, where he was a member of the John Foster Dulles Peace Treaty Mission in 1951. He established the Japan Society Incorporated for cultural interchange. Persistent visits and pressure have boasted Standard Oil Company's facilities in Japan, Indonesia, New Guinea, and India in oil production, refining, and sales. The Rockefeller interest in Japan is reflected in the link with the Sumitomo Metallurgical Group, which has been cemented in the Bethlehem Copper Corporation Limited, a 1955 British Columbia registration. Property claims in the Highland Valley of British Columbia hold oil reserves of 3,304,000 tons, grade 1 to 20% copper, and 12,723,000 tons of 0 to 82% grade. Additional claims are held in the provinces as well as full subsidiary, Highland Valley Smelting and Refining Company. The total output is to go to Sumitomo Metal Mining Company Limited Group, which is responsible for bringing the property into production. It has bought 400,000 shares in Bethlehem and has options on further lots in connection with the loan promises of $5 million, and an agreement to contribute 1/2 of the funds required for expansion. Sumitomo provides Bethlehem vice president and 2 other directors, one of whom is from the prominent Tanaka family. The first deliveries from Nimba Mine were made during May 1963, and production of 7,500,000 tons is planned for 1965. The Nimba iron ore streaks of Liberia stretch into Guinea, where prospecting is taking place in the Nimba Samadou region, about 1,000 kilometers from Conakry, close to the Liberia Ivory Coast borders. A West European banking group representing itself as the Consortium Européen pour le Développement des Ressources Naturelles de l'Afrique, CONSAFRIque, is undertaking investigations by contract with the Guinea government. The group comprises, oh god, a bunch of French names, here we go. Banque de l'Indochine Paris. Oh, I always hate trying to say Duce Bank? How the hell do you pronounce that? In AG Frankfurt, Maine. Ambrose Bank, London. Nederlandsche Handel. Yeah, Bank of Germany. There, thank you. Duce, thank you. Matship of NV Amsterdam. Société de Bruxelles pour la Finance de Industrie. Rufina in Brussels. South Africa Auxiliary de Finance et le Commerce. Oxifa, Brussels. And Compagnie Franco-Américaine de Matou de la Minerie. Hey, Barfcast. Yeah, that's a lot of syllable. The oicha like that. The oicha. That. Deutsche. Like a toy. Deutsche? Is that right? Does that sound more right? Am I getting closer? The Banque de l'Indochine is closely associated with the Banque de Paris et les Pays-Bas and has links with Société Générale de Belgique. Belgium, right? Belgium. Its original sphere of operations has been largely closed by its exclusion from the North Vietnam because of the socialist regime established there. While in South Vietnam, it has now become subordinate to American finance. Okay, cool. The Ouija. Some sort of like that. I'm in the neighborhood, I feel like, at least. The Banque de l'Indochine, which already had a foothold in Algeria, is turning more and more to Africa, where it is grouped in several consortia, usually around the interests connected with the Société Générale de Belgique, La Banque de Paris et les Pays-Bas, and on Deutsche Bank, all leagued with Morgan International interests. SGB was an investment bank and subsequently an industrial and financial conglomerate in Belgium between 1822 and 2003. Awesome, thank you. I thought it was Belgium by the name, of course. I had to take a little bit of French. French. Had to take a little bit of French. That's what we call French out here in Canada. It's not real French. It's French. Sort of like a ranch style French. I can't even say it now. I'm done. I'm gone. The Banque de l'Indochine is represented on the board of Les Nickel, which exploits a variety of minerals in Asia and Oceania and has substantial interest in Compagnie Française de Mineral de l'Uranium. That's when you mix French and ranch dressing together, which is what, and you get, that's Quebecois. In other words, Quebecois. I love French on my pizza. The late H. Robillard was another director of Lyd Nickel's board, as well as J. Perrier, and from Penoroya and Le Mans de Heron, whose former president was the late Lafont of La Banque de Paris et Pays-Bas. These and other allied French and American interests grouped around the Société de Mineral et Moté, Tanto, and American Metal Climax. American Metal Climax formed the combination known as Coframat, several of whom received Marshall Plan credits in post-war years. Of course they did. The Deutsche Bank. I feel like I say it different each fucking time. Has always concerned itself with exploitation investments in the less developed areas. Also has close associations with the Banque de Paris. Even during the War of the Deutsche Bank did not relinquish its role of colonial exploiter. I keep looking at chat every time I go to say it first. But followed the German army into the conquered territories of Europe. Today, it is busy pushing West German interests in Africa, Panama, Chile, Pakistan, Colombia, and Puerto Rico. Yeah, it's giving me a lot of practice at least. All kinds of names keep coming up in this one. It has floated loans for Argentina, the city of Oslo, and Norway. It has a holding in the Pakistan Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation Limited. It has acted as a fiduciary house for such considerable international corporations as General Motors, Philips, Royal Dutch Petroleum, and Signa Viscosa. The connection with Royal Dutch Petroleum continues due to the Dutch Bank Association with the pre-First World War Mosul oil concession in the part of Turkey that became Iraq, while its activities on behalf of General Motors and Philips emphasizes the subservient role of the Deutsche Bank plays on the... I say it different every fucking time. The practice, I feel like, is not helping. Plays to the Morgan interests which conduct the international expansion of these vast ramified organizations. On the board of this bank sits directors of the Mansman Steel interests of the Ruhr, also represented on another German bank, the Dresdner, which is also engaged in a number of investment ventures in Africa. Peerless fucking hands all over Africa, as you can see. The Mansman Steel Company, one of the most important in the German Ruhr, was established in 1885. Its chairman, Dr. William Zanger, director of Algoma Steel Corporation Limited of Canada, in which the German interests were linked for some time with the Hawker Siddeley Group of Great Britain. Mansman is associated with several projects in India and elsewhere with Krups and Duisburg, affiliated Dimag AG Dimag. Works in close collaboration with the American firm Blahl, Knox & Company. This firm, which makes equipment for steel mills and for chemical, petroleum, and other industries, falls within the Mellon sphere of interest. Of course it does. Notice how it keeps leading back to a same few huge banking interests? Hence, it has links with Bethlehem Steel, which associates with the West German steel industry, into which Mellon interests have increasingly pushed. Because, of course, as we know, the dominance of finance capital, right? Both the Deutsche Bank and Dresdner Bank, with which Mansman is closely tied, in alliance with the Morgan Guarantee Trust, have considerable interests in the Oppenheimer companies of Southern Africa. Not related, of course, to the Oppenheimer with the bomb. Oicha. The Oicha Bank. Hambro's Bank, the late Sir Charles Hambro, was the link with the Bank of England. Cable and Wireless Holding and Oppenheimer holding companies have valuable interests in the diamond, gold, and other mining undertakings in Central and Southern Africa. Merchant Bank, Hambros, has long been associated with the Scandinavian investment market and has in the past years spread its activities in Europe in anticipation of Britain's entry into the common market. It added a subsidiary in Zurich in 1962, Hambros Investment Company. Like many other financial institutions, it has entered a growing field for financial investment, that of leasing equipment to industry. For this purpose, Hambros established equipment leasing company Elco in 1962. It also engages directly in the business and importation and distribution of motor cars and commercial vehicles from the British Motor Corporation into the United States through British Motor Corporation's Hambros Incorporated, a joint 50-50 venture. The British Motor Corporation covers Austin, MG Morris, Riley, Wolseley Motors, and subsidiary companies of the Nuffield and other groups. Through its acquisition of the banking firms of Laidlaw and Company, New York, Hambros is strengthening its associations with important American banking interests. Among Hambros banks, many other interests is in connection with the bullion firm of Mercado and Goldsmith, which increased its holding of bullion from 1961 to 3,750,000 to 6,500,000. Another financial industrial group, headed by the British company BISC, B-I-S-C, or Limited, and including French, German, and American financial participants, is already working iron ore deposits in Guinea at Koloum, in immediate proximity to the port of Conakry. These deposits of 50 to 55% grade ore were discovered in 1904 when construction of a railway line from Conakry to Niger was begun. Prospecting was carried out between 1919 and 1922 by the mining company of French Guinea. In 1948, a new company was formed to confirm previous findings. This was the Champagne Minière de Conakry, whose plant at Kaloum is geared to an annual production of 1,200,000 tons, which can be doubled without any appreciable modifications of the setup. Alongside its iron production, this company is multiplying its income from the establishment of a complex of industries, which includes the manufacture of explosives by the La Union Chimique of l'Ouest Africain, UCOA, participation of the Compagnie Minière de Conakry, which is capitalized at 1,500 million Guinea francs, is as follows. Bureau de Researches Géologiques et Minières is 24 to 70%. BISC 30 to 50%. Rothschild Group 5 to 56. Torchwork is a leading West German iron and steel firm associated with the larger combines like Mannesmann and Phoenix Rimmer, the last of which was lately effected a fusion with the Thyssen Group. Before the last war, Thyssen was associated with Krupp. The West German iron and steel industry is looking increasingly for raw materials and supplies for use in German plants. In other parts of the world, where less developed countries are making an attempt to industrialize, they're setting up transformation foundries, rolling mills, to bring secondary and intermediate stages ores brought in from the mines, to which they have been granted concessions. Thus, the Mannesmann affiliate in Brazil, Copenhagen Siderurgia Mannesmann, is able to achieve a crude steel capacity of 300,000 tons from iron ores from its mines less than 5 miles from the new blast furnace it is erecting at Belo Horizonte. American capital has large holdings in the German iron and steel industry, in some cases a controlling one, achieved during the post-war American occupation of Western Germany. The Morgan banks led this incursion into West Germany and other European heavy industrial fields, using their European agents and associates in Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Belgium, and Switzerland for the purpose. Among these associates is the multiple Rothschild Group, already flanking the Morgans in their southern African ventures. The British section, headed by N.M. Rothschild, has, in the words of one commentator, the Honourable Peter Montefiore Samuel, a member of the London merchant banking house of M. Samuel and Company Limited, re-established their ancient connections with the Rothschild Ferrez, which go back to the pre-Napoleonic days. My God! The firm of M. Samuel is itself linked with the Banque Lambert of Belgium and the Banque de Paris et les Pays-Bas of France, all within the investment sphere of Société Générale de Belgique, in an investment consortium established to exploit the European common market. When people say that this money is fucking old, And it's like the same old families. They ain't fucking joking around. Edmund L. de Rothschild and Han P. M. Samuel sit together on the board of Anglo-Israel Securities Limited. De Rothschild is a director of two insurance companies, the Alliance and Sun Alliance, created by the Rothschilds. Sits also on the board of the British Newfoundland Corporation, incorporated in Canada, which secured 7,000 square miles of concessionary mineral lands and an additional like extent of oil and gas concessions from the Newfoundland government in 1953. The corporation also holds concessions on 35,000 square miles of Labrador. They share interest in bed. Fuck, yep, they do. Old money is truly old. Yeah, exactly. The same de Rothschild further adorns the board of Five Arrows Securities Company Limited of Toronto, in which Barclays Bank and Morgan Associates are interested. The Honorable P.M. Samuel is a director of the Shell Oil Holding Company, Shell Transport Trading Company, as well as other investment companies, including several operating in Central Africa, such as Haywood Investments Central Africa Private Limited, on which he is joined by another member of the family, the Honorable Anthony Gerald Rothschild, who also sits on the boards of other such concerns, as well as of publishing and publicity firms. BISC, or Limited, BISC, is also included in a consortium, Société Anonyme de Biens de l'Affaire Maritime, MIFERMA, Burma, exploiting ore at Fort Garon, Mauritania. It is estimated that there is a minimum of 100 million tons of high-grade ore at 64 to 65% iron contained in this property on the western edge of the Sahara Desert, and it is being prepared to produce an annual output of 6 million tons. British group, as well as the German and Italian groups, have substantial holdings, but the major interest is held by a French group, headed by the Bureau Minerie of Franck de l'Outre-mer. The following are the participants of this venture. BISC, British Ore Investment Corporation, British Steel Corporation, Compagnie de Chemin de Fer du Nord, Compagnie Financière de l'Outre-mer, Benin Annexion, République Islamique de Mauritanie. Holy shit. There's a lot. There's a lot of French companies here. Look. Not saying all of these. That's too much. Society Union Société Retrograde du Nord de la France. The company has been capitalized at about 13,300,000 francs. 13,300 million francs. Holy shit, that's because of inflation, right? CFA, as well as the following affiliates. It's just that number, like, kind of fucked with me for a second when I first read that. Société Anonyme, that's the one we just read about. All based on the same umbrella. 100,000 francs. 5 million francs. Yeah, 13 billion, right. That's why it fucked with me. I knew that it was like put in a strange way. And to prove that though the names may change, the components remain the same, the management of the mine will be in charge of Canero. Finsider is the financial organization related with the industrial group comprising Ferromint and the and these are all numbers in 1965 era, by the way. Important to keep that in mind for sure. Insider is the financial organization related with the industrial group comprising of Ferromin and the Oicha, right? The Oicha Bank was concerned with certain share introductions made by it during 1961-62. I got it. Deutsche. The Campagne de Chemin de Forêt du Nord comes within the influence of the Banque de Paris et les Pays-Bas, as does Union. This word keeps tripping me up. Side Urbique de Nord de la France. Gabon, whose timber has hitherto been its main export, has shown signs of processing iron ore deposits since 1895. Investigations were carried out in 1938 by what is then French Overseas Mining Bureau, transferred later to the Bureau of Research Géologiques et Minières, and joined by the Bethlehem Steel Company. The resulting company, Société des Mines de la Frère Manco, was established in 1955, with the major purpose of, quote, creating a great center of production capable of satisfying at long term a part of the anticipated needs of Western Europe's steel industry and the future requirements of Bethlehem Steel, unquote. In case there's any confusion that they don't just come right out and say it. Thus, in the participation, Bethlehem Steel has a 50% holding, and other parties of the undertaking are Bureau de Research Géologiques. The long S word is just industrial metal. Of course it is. Bureau de Research Géologiques Minières, Banque de Paris et Pays-Bas, Financier de l'Outre-mer, Suez, Fiat Company Italy, German Consortium of Egmont Fiat Company, French Steel Industry, Belgium Steel Industry, Dutch Steel Industry. The undertaking is capitalized at 200 million francs CFA, and on its behalf, further investigations have been undertaken by the syndicate grouped round the Bureau de Research and the European coal and steel community, underlining the interest that the European community and its common market has in Africa's primary resources. What makes Gabon's iron ore deposits so interesting is their proximity to important electrical power resources, capable of affording abundant electricity at an estimated rank of 1 franc CFA per kilowatt. Fiat's inclusion in this consortium is an illustration of the inevitability of monopoly's extension into capital investments in less developed countries. Fiat is not simply an automobile producing company, but a vast industrial organization, which has penetrated deeply into financial investments in Europe and beyond. Founded in Turin in 1899, Fiat has grown in 63 years into the second largest motor manufacturer in Europe and the fourth largest in the world after General Motors, Ford, and Volkswagen. If Simca, which is linked with Fiat, is added to Fiat's production, it is larger than that of Volkswagen. But Fiat's growth came not through automobile manufacturing, but through industrial production, connecting with armaments during the First World War. Its expansion continuing in the Second World War. It made a profit out of the devastation that came to Italy and continued to build itself up in the post-war period under its founder, an ex-cavalry officer of a well-to-do Turin family, Giovanni Agnelli, in whom business genius was combined with the ruthlessness of an American railroad or oil tycoon of the old days. Think about how much more the combinations of auto manufacturers have gone since then. How much more monopolized they are. In the working year of 1960, the Fiat Company had investments in other companies valued at some 26,700,000, a valuation decided by the company, since under Italian company law, this is left entirely to the discretion of the company's accounts, and figures listed in Italian balance sheets under this heading usually bear no relation whatever to the market value or even to the face value of the equities and bonds held. Cement, camera, and film manufacturer are among the company's ventures. A subsidiary, Union Cement Marcinio, produces 600 million tons of cement yearly. The Cinzano vermouth, which is so widely enjoyed throughout the world, is among Fiat's undertakings. Its subsidiary, Impressiat, is busy whatever hydroelectric dams are being construed. Impressiat is busy wherever hydroelectrical dams are being constructed. It built the Caraba Dam in Rhodesia and is working on Ghana's Volta Dam. Fiat owns property all over the world. Practically the whole of the Rue Blanche in Paris' notorious nightlife world is owned by Fiat, as well as land, hotels, and pleasure facilities in Siestre, a leading Italian winter sports resort. Like so many of the monopoly organizations that spread their interests all over the globe and into manifold undertakings, Fiat has branched into oil, having a 22% holding in Aquila, the Italian subsidiary of Champagne France de Petroli. Aquila is now operating in Austria as well as Italy. Shipping also comes within Fiat's operational sweep through ownership of a couple shipping companies. All of these ramifications, which cover more than 100 companies inside and outside Italy, are almost all vested in the holding company Istituto Finanziario Industriale, found in 1927. And known briefly as JFI in the latter part of 1962. Fiat joined the international group comprising SABCA, Avians Ferrari, Birkerat, Focke-Wulf, Volker, Hawker Siddeley Aviation, and Republic Aviation, which submitted designs to NATO for a vertical takeoff strike aircraft. Fiat had already maintained cooperation with Bristol Siddeley in the manufacture of Bristol Siddeley Orpheus turbojet engines for the G91, then the standard NATO strike aircraft, and to help mold public opinion in the right direction. Fiat published Italy's second largest daily paper, La Stampa. Monopoly. So much fun. Yeah, the vertical takeoff shit. They wanted those vertical takeoff jets so bad. Oh yeah, well, I remember the Harrier like being so problematic, right? The Harrier was like super problematic in so many ways. Yeah, I think even like the VTOL that is around today in jets is pretty experimental, right? At least from my understanding. Yeah, the British one it didn't work out very good. I was always amazed at how far they like went with producing the Harrier. Like given all the stuff I learned about the problems with it and stuff. They're like, yeah, go ahead anyway. Let's keep going. Typical white arrogance. Where I keep putting my puffer places. There we go. Campagne Financière de Suisse was in considerable difficulty after the affairs of the Suez Canal were taken over by Egyptian government, following the unsuccessful attempt by Anglo-French imperialism to dominate Egypt once more, and has been under pressure from its shareholders. However, the board held off the shareholders and righted its position by looking for investments which will give quick high returns. It has made certain equity purchases in Australia, but is really seeking quick profitability in Saharan oil and African primary materials. Its investment in Coparex is expected to give good early results, since this company had in 1961 large reserves of oil from which it was deriving a substantial income. What's crazy in terms of Canadian aviation, they had in the 60s one of the most advanced fighter jets, and the government scrapped the project. Yeah, that's the Avro Arrow, right? Scrapped the project, didn't even bother to try and use the people for civilian aircraft, and all the people got fired. Many of them went into NASA and took part in the space program. Yeah, Avro Arrow, right? I remember learning about that a little bit. Bauxite in Western and Equatorial Africa is even more plentiful than iron, but its exploitation is waiting upon the availability of electrical power. We have already referred to FIRA, the enterprise that has been set up in the Republic of Guinea by a consortium with the Rockefeller firm Olin Matheson at its head. Second largest holding in this group is held by Pinche Eugene. The same groups, together with Reynolds, Kaiser, and Mellons Elkan, formed another enterprise, the Bauxites de Midi, which originally exploited other deposits at Casa and Boke. Notice, however, was given to the company by the Guinea government that if, within 3 months from November 24th, 1961, Bauxite de Midi did not make arrangements to set up an aluminum factory at Boke by July 1964, as originally agreed, its installations, works, and machinery would be expropriated, as well as its assets, for which reparations would be made. The Guinea government declared that it waited for the company to renounce its colonial methods based on the simple extraction of minerals, whose transformation would be subsequently effected outside the country of production. I love that new tank's looking pretty good, isn't it? Look at it. Bounces. Picheni Eugene is also concerned with the Champagne Clarissant de Luminen. Pinche Eugene Alcom, in which a 10% participation is held by Cobalt, Société Générale de Blanc of Belgique Associate. Picheni Eugene's share of Alcom's total production in 1962 was 52,246 tons. Was 46,443 tons. Wow. Obviously the most important. Yeah. Quite obviously the most important. Gabon's natural resources are proving immensely rich. Atomic energy commissions are busy prospecting and investigating uranium sources in Moana. Hey Lasu. What's up? In the hot Ugu region, one of the most isolated in the country. The only means of access is the river Ugi, cut by rapids, more than 600 kilometers of its length. Okay, so at the beginning of 1959, however, a 100-kilometer road, love you too, constructed by the Champagne Minerie de l'Ogit, Hamelog, put the terminus of the railway, which opened in 1962, about 120 kilometers from Moana, thus making it more accessible. The ore is to be mined and uranated by the Champagne de Mines de l'Uranium de Franceville, capitalized at 1,000 million francs CFA. A participant in Camlog, the Compagnie de Monca, is responsible for the management of the mine. Camlog is exploiting Gabon's manganese deposits at Frankville, which were first investigated by French Overseas Mining Bureau in collaboration with U.S. Steel. The Mammoth American Steel Forum, controlled by Morgan Interests. Together with its affiliates, U.S. Steel has 49% control of Camlog, to which other parties are the frequently present Bureau de Recherche Géologique de Minerais, 22%, Champagne de Mocha, 14%, Society Accélérée de Manganese à Franceville, 15%. The enterprise is capitalized at 2,500,000 francs CFA. The United States and French monopolists are chief parties to Camlog. Camlog has as its principal shareholder, 49%, the largest steel output in America, and hence the world. U.S. Steel, a perfectly integrated iron and steel concern. The manganese bed on which Camlog is working at Frankville in Gabon is one of the most important in the world, with estimated reserves of 200 million tons of 50% ore. The French C. de Mocha has 19% interest and, besides being concerned in operating directly in Grand Lahou manganese mine on Ivory Coast, controls important production of iron, manganese, and uranium holdings through uranium ores in Algeria, Spain, Tunisia, Morocco, and Gabon. It has, for instance, 40% in C. de Mines de Uranium at Frankville, which is developing a rich uranium mine in Mohana, Gabon. De Mocha is linked directly and by associates with interests radiating from Anglo-American Corporation, Great Iron and Steel Trust, Arbit. Guess all my mods are asleep. Party in the chat. U.S. Steel and General Electric are world giants in their related spheres. The first by virtue of its multiple divisions covering all aspects of the steel industry. Is the sixth largest industrial company in the United States. No surprise, though. No surprise. Just kidding. The second is the leading producer of electrical equipment and appliances in the world, with affiliates, subsidiaries, and associates all over the globe. I'll have to show it to you. I'll have to show it to you online. It's not in the. You're not gonna find it there, I don't think. What was it called? Galaxies or something. It was a massive Rebellion. Star Wars Rebellion. What it was called. Right? Yeah, Rebellion. Trying to look right quick. Yeah, Star Wars Rebellion, the board game. That's the one. I would be surprised if they have it at a store around here. That's the fiance. That's the fiance in chat. Soda Thai Monster, of course. Trying to get those Christmas presents, chat. I'm almost done. I'm literally on the last couple paragraphs. Yeah, I just talked about that song a little while ago, actually. U.S. Steel and General Electric are world giants in their related spheres. The first, by virtue of its multiple divisions covering all aspects of the steel industry, is the sixth largest industrial company in the United States. Jesus Christ, here, drink this. Yeah, well, we're gonna see if we can find a used somewhere. That is the idea. The second is the leading producer of electrical equipment and appliances in the world, with affiliates, subsidiaries, and associates all over the globe. I mean, I love talking as well, but I do like to do the reading for everyone, especially from anti-colonial thinkers like Kwame Nkrumah here, who literally wrote the book on neo-colonialism. Not that I don't love our talks. Its plants affect many sectors of industry: radio, aviation, marine, scientific research, and turn out heavy capital goods. Industrial components and materials, and defense products, as well as consumer goods. U.S. Steel was founded in 1901 by Pierpont Morgan as a holding company controlling over half the American steel industry. Hold in chat now. Since then, the American steel industry has expanded by giant strides, and other commanding trusts have forged ahead. But U.S. Steel leads still, and today controls 30% of America's steel and cement production. On the board of General Electric sits Henry S. Morgan, so that it is not difficult to find the relationship between this international monopoly and U.S. Steel in the exploitation of some of Africa's richest resources.
Let's go, smokes. Let's go, smokes.
To feed the military as well as economic demands of the world's most dangerous imperialism. Operating universally, its interests are located at every crisis point of the globe. Follow our comrade Sebs, by the way, comrades. You want this? You want this? That's what you want? Is that what you wanted? Is that enough? No? Okay then. Yeah, that song was cursed. That was absolutely cursed. Oh. Yes, you can find all of my social media links there. Again, Sue, I love her talks, of course, and we will. Lots more Larry and Sue to come. You know that. You know there has to be more Larry and Sue. The Larry's call-in show will continue. Soon, and we'll have what we'll soon do is have Lost Sue and I together in a call, and settlers can come on and call in, and we can roast them. I'm just fucking with you. Am I though? Am I? We'll see. We'll see if we'll see how much of a joke it is, I guess, when we put it into practice. We'll get other guests in here with us, like Rick, Plants Fanon, Zitkato. No long-winded settlers. No. No. Well, what I'll do is if they start to get too long-winded, if that ever happens, then next time I will have to just mute them, and we'll I'll just mute them in the Discord and be like, okay, you're out of time. And then no, and then the only person that would be able to hear it, well, then nobody could hear them unless I unmute them. Larry versus Sue. No Larry versus Sue. Please, Larry. We're not versus. We're on the same side. It's just clickbait. It's clickbait! Alright. We're almost at the end of this chapter. I feel like we'd get banned. Oh god. Sebs. It is said that as a result of the most complicated transaction, Tanganyika concessions ceded to an American financial group closely associated with the leading United States banking houses, 1,600,000 of its shares, as a result of which the American group probably has a majority in this British company, which owns 21% of the shares of Union Minerie, whose empire is the Congo. French Observateur, 9th of July, 1964. American interest in the Congo is motivated by very substantial investments, frequently hidden behind British, French, Belgium, and West German cover, and engaging leading personalities in United States political affairs. Mr. Adlai Stevenson, for instance, representing his government at UNO, presided over the firm of Templeson and Son, specialists in exploiting Congo diamonds. And Mr. Arthur H. Dean, who lead America's delegations to disarmament conferences, was vice president and still is a director of American Metal Climax, a huge consumer of uranium, since it provides 10% of the United States production. American Metal, according to the information blurb, forms with its subsidiaries a powerful international mining group, which includes notably Rhodesian Selection Trust Limited. To be fair, it wouldn't be on us. White folks just wouldn't be able to handle it, and that's why I figured. That's why also we have to give them a break from the panel, because the Leaping Larry. I feel like the Leaping Larry panels are so fire that someone's gonna get hurt. Right? If we're not careful, we're gonna hurt someone. Perhaps we already have. In fact, go back and watch those panels we've had. I think some people are getting hurt. And that's not to say that people will not get hurt again. Just, you gotta allow them time to get gathered up in here again. So then the next time we go at them, next time we hurt them, we'll have a crowd again for it. Right? I'm not worried about the bad interaction thing. I'm so not worried about that. That's one thing I've never been worried about. I was out there critiquing like Mopin and Midwestern marks and stuff before it was fashionable. I was like, when I was doing it, when I was being like, hey, this guy is probably a reactionary shitbag because he has a terrible position on First Nations liberation, everybody then was like, but they seem so nice. Oh, they're so nice and everything. How could they do that? They're so nice. They seem so based. Like, good God. But yeah, anyway, before I go off on that tangent, if you get hurt, that means you're not paying us enough. Exactly. Pay up. Give Sebs your money. It's the only way. Send Sebs, Larry, and Sue money. Alright. Enough joking around. Enough clowning around here. Finish this work. The NATO powers are interested in Gabon because of her riches. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Meg. Perfect. Perfect. I'm glad that command got me. That command was...
Hey, this guy's a commie!
Oh, shit.
Commie!
Thank you for pouring one out, comrade. Very much appreciate that. 5 gift sub bomb. Thank you. Let's see a lot of Juche Gang emotes in celebration. Appreciate the support, comrade. That means a lot. The hyperclap. Exactly. All the mods show up now. It just the mods take a while to. It's like the sand people, right? The mods take a while to they startle easily, but they'll be back and in greater numbers. Oh my god, look at this one. All right, Landon. All right. Oh, that's another bup emote. It's another bup emote. What the fuck? I'm not a space opera creature, Larry. How rude. I said like. I used a simile. I didn't even use a metaphor. I didn't even use a full-blown metaphor. I went for the simile. Right? Similes? It's not the same. It's not even as powerful as a metaphor. It's a simile. It's like a weak version of a metaphor. Therefore, not rude. It's been decided. Thank you for your service. I'm just joking. I will consider that qualification. Good, good. I'm glad. Simile, chat. Comrades. Ah, god damn it. I said the thing. Could someone could one of the comrades please type in exclamation mark chat? Thank you. Damn, I hit the unlucky number. 13. I have to atone for my sins. Self-critique. Promise to work harder on calling the comrades in chat comrades. My apologies. I'll do better. I'll do better next time. Oh, now I'm getting double struck. God damn it. Well, I guess I'll continue reading then. The NATO powers are interested in Gabon because of her riches. Wow, right? I know. I was just got brutalized. You watch me. You watched that happen to me just now. Yeah, I'll just keep reading. That'll solve the problem. The NATO powers are interested in Gabon because of her riches. Wow. Anytime someone says that, they're gonna owe Seb some royalties, I feel like. It's just been, they've just trademarked it. As you saw right here, Sebs has just officially trademarked WoW. Right? Intellectual property rights. There we go. See? We uplift all of our streamers. If your pockets of course are deep enough, you got the spare cash, if you can donate to me, consider also giving Sebs a donation as well, of course. Anyone out there? Anybody out there? At present, American Offshore International has been offered a drilling contract for Société de Pétrole Afrique Équatoriale, SPAIF, with headquarters in Port Gentil. This company employs 1,200 Africans who are all subordinate to the 400 white people. There is no oil refinery at present in Gabon. but Gabon, Chad, Congo, Brazzaville, Central African Republic, and Cameroon have agreed to establish a refinery to be financed by their respective governments and France. The first meeting of the representatives of these governments was on 22nd of July 1964 in Port Gentil. According to the minister, the necessary investigations are going on to start the refinery before the end of 1965. There are, I was told, many oil fields both in the territorial waters of Gabon and deep in the interior in large economic quantities to supply many parts of Africa. My information is that all the petroleum companies now distributing oil in French-speaking Africa have controlling shares in the oil production company in Gabon. Egypt is not allowed to hold shares in the company. Readers will recall what caused the downfall of Mr. Abdullah in Congo: oil politics. It seems to me, therefore, that two economic issues will influence the duration of French occupational forces in Gabon for many years, namely uranium and oil. Generic surprise reaction, since I'm not allowed to use Seb's trademark term anymore. I'll just have to say that from now on. Generic surprised reaction. It is quite likely that Africa could provide enough phosphates not only to fertilize the abundant agricultural production that would cover its future food and industrial requirements, but to leave enough over to supply the needs of many other parts of the globe. At the moment, important centers of phosphates are Jebel Ankh deposits in Algeria, those at Taiba in Senegal, at Luke Togo in the Republic of Togo, at Kurabig at Yusufia in Morocco. Well, generic surprised reaction. Well, generic surprised reaction. Yeah, that's what I'm doing from... I'm only allowed to do that. That's the generic version. The Société de Jebel Ankh, with a capital of 30 million new francs, comprises the following interests. After all, I live in a capitalist society, and therefore I must abide by intellectual law, and therefore must also not pirate any works, media, video games, etc. Sorry, I'm required to give that statement at least once a stream for various legal reasons. Bureau investment in Africa. So, here's the following interest in the Society de Jebel Ankh. Does the DPRK have any copyright policy at all? I mean, a little bit, but it to the degree that it protects artists' works from being misused or something. But yeah, not in the sense that that we do here, and that's why they just steal technology from the U.S. and they're like, "What? We don't care about your property laws, really." Yeah, so the good kind, exactly. Basically, that's the kind of property law they have. I thought you were reading that from the book for a second. Sorry. The campaign Senegalese de Phosphates de Taiba finds the government of Senegal associating with the Bureau de Research Géologique Séminaire Piché Refine Campagne de Phosphates de Constantine, Campagne de Phosphates de Ocean, Confirmer, and Society Oxine. The same group headed by the Banque de Paris de la Pays-Bas. Always comes back to this fucking one, doesn't it? The Banque de Paris et la de Pays-Bas. And the French interests which it represents made an agreement in February 1963, under the signature of the bank's Director General, J.J. Rary, with the International Minerals and Chemicals Corporation, by which the latter became a partner in the consortium which is exploiting what is said to be the world's largest high-grade phosphate mine near Dakar. There are several things that are noteworthy in this arrangement. First of all, There is something distinctly ominous in the arrangement between two foreign combinations, one of which is a participant in the company associated with the state whose raw materials it is exploiting. It accentuates the contemptuous attitude towards the host country implicit in the monopoly's purpose. International Minerals is the foremost producer of phosphate and phosphate agricultural products in the North American continent, with extensive phosphate mining and chemical process operations in Florida, USA. It also owns a potash mine in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and another $10 million potash project in Canada. It has a market for its products throughout the Americas and Western Europe. For the Senegalese government, this phosphate mining progress, which is to have an output of 500,000 tons a year, has an important place in its 4-year plan. It is intended to broaden and develop the economy. However, the purpose of the monopolies controlling the venture is entirely otherwise. This partnership bolsters our world position in regard to the strategic phosphate reserves. Mr. Rear is reported to have said on signing the partnership agreement in the International Minerals, West Africa, 17th February 1962. Phosphate deposits were uncovered in Togo, about 18 miles from the sea in 1952. Investigations had been going on since 1884 by French and British interests. It was a geological advisor of the Comptoir des Phosphates de l'Afrique du Nord who found the Akampe region indications of very important deposits of first quality which extend across Lake Togo. The Republic of Togo has associated itself with the Compagnie Togolese de Mines de Benin, which is exploiting the deposits, and comprises the interests already engaged in monopolizing other phosphate resources in Africa. These are the Compagnie Constantin, Pinheiro, Confirme, and the Banque de Paris. Pirafit and Compagnie de l'International l'Armement Maritime, the Industriel et Commercial. Capital is 1,180,000,000 francs CFA. 1,180 million francs CFA. The first shipments were made in September 1961. And again, this is like 65, these numbers. Or 60s, I should say. When they left the new war for cream in the United States and American controlled plants in Japan. Or left the war for me for the United States and American controlled plants in Japan. The plan is to produce initially 750,000 tons of concrete yearly, a level it is intended to raise progressively to 1 million tons if the market possibilities are there. You see how much these heavy industry, like how much the numbers and shit involved in heavy industries like dwarfs anything to do with like medium and light production. But yet, you know, whenever you talk about capitalism or socialism or anything, any of these, especially libertarians and like these people who are well-meaning liberals, all they ever consider is light and medium production when they talk about capitalism, right? And they totally leave out these large, heavy industries, which are the best examples of how highly monopolized this shit becomes under capitalism. They're the strongest example of what every other industry in capitalism essentially is going to do, right? They did it at an accelerated pace. There would be no lack of market possibilities if fertilizer were made available to the developing countries at prices which their purchasing power could afford. Gosh, itchy. As it is, the competition in fertilizers from America and other sources is extremely keen. And the British producers, of whom Fison Limited and ICI and Shell practically monopolized the trade in the United Kingdom, were the subject of investigation by British Monopolies Commission in 1959. fertilizers in the UK have been kept at a subsidized price level that led to a serious complaints of overcharging. Bison holds 40% of the UK market, and it has now entered into an agreement with ICI, whereby it will be supplied by the latter with ammonia from their new Immingham plant. This will cut costs in an effort to meet shareholders' complaints of diminishing profits. See, it's not just other languages. It's not just German and stuff. I can hardly pronounce some of these English words also. This cooperation of the largest producers of fertilizers is going on in order to monopolize raw material supplies and markets, so as to sustain prices that will yield higher profits on the considerable investments involved. That's even more important, right? To get to sustain prices that yield higher profits each year, each time. It's like the most important drive. And that's why like they will overlook even long-term profitable things and shoot themselves in the foot because of that desire right there to increase that. Because of that, they will shoot themselves in the foot in the long term in order to gain a little bit of profitability in the short term, because it's so important for a line to go up next year. The chairman of the ICI's Billingham division said the company's steam naphtha process has completely transformed the economics of ammonia production and has put the company in a position of being the world producer of ammonia, not just the UK producer. Transportation is an important factor in the cost of fertilizers. And it is easy to appreciate that if phosphates from Africa are taken to Europe for working up and then returned in fertilizer form to Africa, packed in bags, prices cannot be economic for African agriculture. In this connection, it is interesting to note that Bison have established in India, in association with the leading iron and steel firms of Tata, a fertilizing producing company, Tata Fison Limited, which Sir Clavering Fison, the UK company's chairman, has described as now being the largest company in the industry. Fison has a partnership in Albatross Super Phosphate Bacon NV of Utrecht, Holland, with which company it established fertilizer and chemical companies in South Africa. During their financial year 1961 to 62, the Fison Albatross Company admitted into the South African affiliate Fison's Limited, a local banking undertaking. Federal Volksbeleggings Burpek. Federal Volksbeleggings Burpek. Beperk. Federal Volksbeleggings Beperk, which made enough funds available to allow the South African Fison Company to enter upon the exploitation of phosphate deposits at Velbora and Transvaal. Fison has other companies in South Africa concerned with agricultural chemicals and pharmaceuticals. All these companies did well during the 1961-62 year, according to Fison's chairman, who added that despite the difficult conditions in East Africa and the Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland, our companies there have maintained their position and earned satisfactory profits. Its subsidiary in Sudan, Fison's Pest Control, sprayed a record cotton acreage of over 1 million acres and achieved profits found satisfactory by the chairman. Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Malaya, and Nigeria are all countries in which Fison have established companies for the expansion of their fertilizer and agricultural chemical markets. And they have recently begun to extend into South America and Pakistan. Plants for the manufacture of fertilizers have been erected at Vansvoort in Belgium, jointly with Union Chimique of Belge at South Africa. Besides fertilizers and related chemicals manufacture, horticulture, and scientific apparatus production, Fison are in the food processing and canning firm of John Brown Limited, for the purpose of selling chemical know-how to plants for the purpose of selling chemical know-how and plants to the USSR. Interesting. Oil and gas, which are becoming more and more important finds in Africa, particularly in the Sahara, are drawing the feverish competition of the predominant financial and industrial interests that are bringing monopoly into a tighter and tighter ring. Even smaller ones are pushing into this field, which, while it calls for extremely heavy initial capital for prospecting and sounding, offers the fabulous profits that have built up the fortunes of Standard Oil, Mobil Sconi for the Rockefellers, Gulf Oil for the Mellons, Continental Oil, Dutch Shell for the Morgans, Texaco for the Chicago Group, Hanover Bank, and others. Tennessee Corporation, the Guggenheimer, multiple enterprise operating nitrate and copper concessions in South America, and holdings in the Congo and other parts of Africa, has extended its interest beyond uranium, fertilizers, and chemicals into oil. Its Delaware subsidiary, Tennessee Overseas Company, has started upon oil exploitation in Sierra Leone. C.W. Michael, Tennessee's vice president, is already connected with oil through Dome Petroleum, a subsidiary of the Americo-Canadian Dome Mines Limited, interlocked with Tennessee by shareholding and Michael's chairmanship. Africa is still paramountly an uncharted continent economically, and the withdrawal of the colonial rulers from political control is interpreted as a signal for the descent of the international monopolies upon the continent's natural resources. This is a new scramble for Africa, under the guise of aid, and with the consent and even the welcome of young, inexperienced states. It can be even more deadly for Africa than the first carve-up, as it is supported by more concentrated interests, wielding vastly greater power and influence over governments and international organizations. Woo! I feel like that chapter was something else for the names, wasn't it? Thank you, chat, thank you. God damn it. I gotta, as soon as I start to fucking talk, exclamation mark chat into the window, please. Thank you, Meg, for the redemption as well. Right, that was great. I think what we're gonna do now, before we go on to the horn videos that we need to catch up on. Now you gotta go get vaxxed before you get sick. Yes, please, self-care. That sounds like important self-care. Not that I want to. Why are we counting the times we get called? Because I said that I would start calling the comrades the comrades. I think I have ADD. I love your reading, but I get so distracted all the time. That's why I only do reading twice a week, Tama. And why my reads tend to be like deviating all over the place while I do it. Yeah, it's very distracting in here. Hopefully the distractions though, and when I like get talking about stuff, it somewhat like helps a little bit, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, oh yeah, so it all happened because we were playing Halo one time, and even though I was playing with like just a small group of my comrades who play Halo with me all the time, There's still hierarchies. There's still plenty of hierarchies. Sebs, the whole reason I decided to do it is because I was in Halo. I was playing with comrades in Halo, and I accidentally called like the small group of 4 of us. I called them all chat. And I was like, oh my god, what the hell's happening? I'm becoming streamer languaged. So I decided I'm gonna start calling the comrades in chat comrades instead of just chat. So there you go. That's the whole story behind it. To go along with the read here, we're gonna do this.
Welcome to the Great African Leadership Series.
Right?
Where we
I became terminally online and called my close comrades while playing Halo chat. So that was a wake-up call, Sebs. That was a wake-up
feature
call.
great inspirational speeches and quotes from African leaders.
I haven't said it in